What is going on, Southern Miss fam? This is a very special edition of Hub City Game Day. I'm here with the boys. I'm here with the regulars, Gabe, Andy. And just like the new year, we bringing in some new change. Andy, talk to me, man. Tell me who coming to town.
Well, I imagine everybody's heard by now, but in case y'all haven't, Southern Miss signed a deal with Charles Huff, the head coach at Marshall, on Sunday to become the new head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles.
SMTTT, baby. Gabe, please tell me how you feeling about this hire, man.
Hey, man, it's a great hire. He made it to the conference championship. He's had a great span, 32 and 20. And some of those 20 were like playing Virginia Tech, those kind of teams close to him. You're not going to really beat those teams most of the time. But one thing that stands out to me, he did beat a Notre Dame team who was on a hot streak. Can he bring that over to USM? I think he can.
I'm so glad you mentioned that Notre Dame upset, because when you're bringing in a new head coach, those are the type of games you want to have on your resume. And Andy, can you please go into that resume a little bit and tell the fans what they're getting with a guy like Charles Huff?
With Charles Huff, like he just mentioned, you got a guy who's been coaching offensive players for years. Man's been I think he was offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt for a while. He was running backs coach at Alabama and Penn State, coaching players like Najee Harris and Saquon Barkley. And as far as his resume at Marshall, good little resume. His I think he coached at Marshall 1 year in Conference USA. I think it was 7-6 1 year, went to a bowl game. That's all well and good. Next year, moved to the Sun Belt. Marshall moved to the Sun Belt with Southern Miss and Old Dominion and James Madison. Went 9-4 their first year. Was third place in the Sun Belt East, which that was a very good year. That was the year they beat Notre Dame.
Yep.
They were third under App State at second and James Madison at first when App State played in the conference championship and in place of James Madison. Second year, I believe they went 6-7. 2022, it was all right. It was a Marshall year. 2023, same thing, went 7-6 after a bowl game. This year, they're sitting at 9-4 currently.
10-3.
10-3. Thanks.
Sun Belt champions.
Sun Belt champions at 10-3, waiting to go to a bowl game, which he will not be coaching since they just signed the contract. They'll have their interim, which I'm pretty sure is the new coach they're hiring, Tony Gibson.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a good guy to hire. Wasn't initially my first choice, but that doesn't matter. We hiring a guy who will work, and excited to see where he leads Southern Miss.
Yeah, and swinging over to Gabe, you said you wanted to touch on the interim coach. Tell me how you feel about Tony Gibson.
Tony Gibson is not a bad coach at all. I feel like he's going to have to pick up the pieces of Charles Huff's scheme, which we can get into that too if y'all want to.
Go ahead, get into the scheme, bro.
With Charles Huff's scheme, I'm not going to say it's an unorthodox, but it's kind of unorthodox the way he runs the zone, but runs an option with it. Like there's a couple plays he'll line up in what seems like a wing tee, fake the option to the running back, and have a wide receiver come right behind for a gain of 13-12. I think he scored on us with that same exact play. He was killing UL within the championship game. We have some guys here at Southern Miss I feel like that would fit that role potentially, but when you take him out of Huntington with the players he's got there to do that stuff, how does that work for the bowl game without him? That's what's gonna have to be answered for them. We're Hub City Game Day, we're not Marshall Game Day, so we're gonna let them figure that out on their own.
Yeah, we're gonna let Marshall do what Marshall do, but I'm glad you touched on his offensive scheme, and that's something that our Golden Eagles struggle with a lot this season. We saw that we were hanging with teams and we were with them, but our inability to score and our inability to push the ball down the field and make those big plays is something I think Charles Huff can help us with. Because like you said, in that game against UL, it was zone, it was option, it was maybe an RPO to the flat, it was something like a screen, and boom, big play action down the field, post route, fade, and those are the kind of plays that we need.
That's what we actually missed.
That's what we're missing.
We would have beat UL had we done that essentially, because we started out with it, we did pretty well. After that fourth quarter,
Gabe, if we had them plays against any team, we would have beat them, because there was a lot of games this year that we were in them. The USA game, the UL game. We were South Florida. We were in these games with these teams, hanging with them, and I don't want to say the word, but we etched the bed. Yeah. We couldn't convert. We couldn't make the plays.
Right.
So Andy, we know who he is. We know what he likes to do. What do you think he needs to do first coming into Southern Miss to make an impact, to make a difference?
A lot of problems that Southern Miss has had in the past with head coaches is instability in the locker room. That's one of the things that cost us in 2012 when we hired Ellis Johnson and didn't win a single game, was instability in the locker room. Lost a lot of great players from that 2011 team when they went 12-2. So the first thing he needs to do is, if he's bringing any players in, needs to get them in the locker room, get the players that we are keeping. We've got some that are leaving, but we need to get the ones he's bringing, the ones that are coming back, and the new ones that are coming. We've got to have guys getting along with each other. We've got to have good communication through the coaching staff themselves and the players, because we can't afford mistakes at this point. You know, we couldn't afford them in 2012 either, and that's one thing I'm a little worried about, because Ellis Johnson was a storied defensive coordinator and defensive mind in the SEC and other leagues like that. My only thing with Huff is he's the same exact thing. Are we going to get a guy in here who's a little too cocky for his own good, or are we going to get a guy who's going to do what he knows how to do?
Yeah.
And I'm a little cautious about that, but other than that, the first thing he needs to do is have that stability in the locker room with the players. Guys, we are here to do business. We are here to win. This is how it's going to be. That's what Hall did when he got here, and we know it didn't work too well. Hobson had some troubles with it. When Todd Monken came in and rebuilt the program from 2011, that's one of the things he did. Guys, we're here to win. We're here to do right. And I don't know if y'all have seen the old videos, but when we hired Laird Fedora in 2008, that's what they did. They even made commercials about that stuff with him in there. Guys, we are here to work. We are here to win. This is Southern Miss. We know how to win. We know how to get business done.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's something that I seen from Will Hall's tenure here, is that we had no culture. You see the team, you can see that there was no energy, there was no push, there was no motivation, there was no drive. It seemed like they were playing the plan, because I got a scholarship in the Hellcat, so I'm gonna go out there and play football. Now, Gabe, moving over to you, when you take into account everything that Charles Huff has done and will do, hopefully for us, what do you think this team's ceiling is, and what do you think, what are your expectations for this team next year?
So look, he still has some Will Hall guys. And you can see that with a lot of teams that have gone through it. One of the biggest ones and got with a playoff problem right now, Alabama. You take guys from a system that was in place from one coach, and you try to implement your system. Now, the reason our hire benefits it is because we have a similar offense, except Marshall could score. We couldn't do that. I'm being completely honest. But we have the fast guys on the outside. We have running backs who can hit the holes. We have a quarterback in Ethan Crawford, if he decides to stay, who can run. But from what's been told already, Huff's bringing some of his recruits from DeMatha High School, which is one of the top high schools in the nation, to play quarterback, to play running back. Had a great running back last year, 800-yard guy, 200 in the pass, or 200 catching the ball. So with that being said, the ceiling, an appearance in the SBC championship. I don't know what Texas State's gonna have, but that's the most ceiling. That's the top we can get.
Year one,
Gabe,
we've seen it happen.
It has happened.
App State did it their first year. Billy Napier did it his first year. Now he's at Florida doing whatever he's doing. I mean, they made a bowl game, but we're not. But look, lowest 6 games. We'll still make a bowl game.
Andy,
now, granted, my bad.
No, you good. You good. Andy, let me come over to you and let me get your expectations, because Sun Belt Championship, that's high.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see where you at.
That is a high expectation. I won't say it's a horrible one. There's a lot of Southern Miss fans out there that will say, after the way we've been playing, that's where we need to be for a coach to make it. I myself, I don't see it that way. Like, yeah, we need a good season. For me, we got to go 7-5. We have to, and one of those wins has to be against Mississippi State at home, the first game of the year. That's a game. That's a field rushing game right there. But for him to make a good impression and seem like he knows what he's doing, Southern Miss has to go 7-5 next year, because we don't need one of them bottom of the barrel bowl scraping bowl games. We want to be we want to go back to the Armed Forces Bowl, or we want to be in the Camellia Bowl or something.
We don't want to be in the Dollar General Bowl.
We don't need to be in the Dollar General Bowl. We don't want to be in the 68 Ventures Bowl. We don't. We want to be in, like I said,
we want to be in RL
Carriers
Bowl.
The Carriers Bowl. Yeah. We need to be in the Independence Bowl. I'll take Shreveport over Mobile.
What is that one? Actually, no, I remember it. The Cure Bowl in Orlando, because that does go to the Sun Belt champion usually.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Marshall is this year.
Maybe.
Marshall is.
Marshall's
going to the Independence Bowl. They're playing Army.
They did release the bowl schedule, and I'm gonna go ahead and end off with my little prediction. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. But like you said, 7-5 is a perfect ceiling. But I'm not gonna completely cast out games.
If you say a ceiling, though,
I'm not gonna.
The ceiling is the very top.
But you got a relative. The ceiling is relative to who we have and what we're coming from.
Let me rephrase.
Yeah, I'm about to say what we're coming from. Now
I'll give you two scenarios. If Charles Huff brings in the guys, then the SBC championship will be center. Now if he keeps our guys, adds a little bit, 10 wins that's a good, because that count. You can give him a bowl game. He can go 9-4, get a bowl game, and make his 10th win.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and I want the best of both worlds here. I'm gonna go 10 wins. I could see 10 wins. I could also see 7, but it's all dependent on the recruits we get, not just from transfer, but from high school. Right now, we don't have that many high schoolers. We have 7, and 2 of them are place kickers. We don't have high schoolers committed, but those are the real guys that you want to bring in. Like we've seen it with some of these teams who have been transfer heavy. Florida State transfer heavy. You can't really build a culture, and you can't really put that emphasis on the team with those transfer guys. They've been in 3, 4, 5 schools already.
But wait, one more thing though. You got to think about it when you're talking about recruits. Mississippi is a JUCO powerhouse of a state.
Yeah,
he could get some of those guys because look,
true.
You got this 3-star who's been all this his whole life, but you got this dog at a JUCO who is going to come in there who is going to bust his tail to get to the top. Yeah. So that could be.
So I definitely see that. I see his recruiting, how I want to see how he handles that, because that's going to be the biggest determining factor. But I'm going to go ahead and say 8 wins. 8 wins is perfectly fine. Now, am I expecting 8 wins? Probably not. It depends on, like I said, recruiting. But I'm a hope for 8. But enough talk about hopes and wishes and prayers. We finally have a coach. We finally got a deal. And I wanted to just say thank you, Coach Huff, for, taking this job and coming to Southern Miss and trying to help us out, help us, get back to glory. My boy Andy, he's a historian, so he always talking about the glory days, and I hope that we can come back to those glory days. This has been a very special episode of Hub City Game Day. My name is Micah Gibbs. This is Gabe Calhoun. This is Andy Borelli. And as always, Southern Miss to the top.